Please read the disclaimer. Is XRP actually helping inflation? Well, Ripple CEO thinks so. Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, moneymakers. We're going to talk about the crypto market, the aftermath of Coinbase pulling out of the Clarity Act or the support of the Clarity Act. We'll talk about the markets, what's happening with Taiwan. All I ask from you is that you give me a beautiful smile to send out those good vibes. Smishity smash that like button. Let's try to get 1,000 likes on this video, guys. You have been lacking. You have been lazy. I'm calling you out. Let's get into it. Currently, XRP is sitting at $2.07, down 0.29% on the day. As you can see, XRP basically hugging this 205, 206 level. Bitcoin at 95,700. Interestingly, if we go to the fear and greed index, it did come down right from greed. Now we're in neutral. So we were in greed yesterday and now we're neutral. About a 12-point drop there. Makes sense because the market was, oh yeah, we're going back to 100,000 for Bitcoin. And then one day pull back and the market's like, oh, well, maybe we jumped ahead a little bit, right? And so that's the current situation. Of course, a lot of it has to do maybe with the Clarity Act and the support. Eleanor here reports new nearly 24 hours after the banking GOP markup was pulled. Industry players, lawmakers, and staffers have had time to digest what happened and what comes next. Though many are still annoyed at the way things went down yesterday, consensus among some industry and banking committee staff that she has caught up with seems to be that all is not lost and that if a deal on yield can be reached between the relevant parties, i.e. banks, Coinbase, and Democrats, in the coming days, then the bill is likely to get off of life support. Remember, something that also could be a wrench in this is that the government might shut down once again in the US. So that's a possibility as well. The tokenized security issue, aka Section 505, which contains a study and possible notice and comment rulemaking by the SEC and CFTC, appears to be a nuisance for two reasons. First, tokenization firms are now suggesting the language Coinbase took issue with was taken out of context. Second, some stakeholders, including Brian Armstrong, say that they are hopeful that a significant changes or a full removal of the section are on the table. Ethics issues remain the same as they were yesterday, and discussions between the White House and Senate are said to be ongoing. Finally, there are questions about the banking moving their markup will affect the agriculture's timeline. Sources close to the process say the order doesn't necessarily matter and that if agriculture can lock in a successful bipartisan deal, it could make the process in Senate banking smoother. This actually happened in the House last summer, where House Agriculture Committee passed its portion of the Clarity Act with a strong bipartisan vote of 46-6. I think she meant the Genius Act, giving encouragement to House Financial Services members who marked up the bill right afterward, even though they didn't get nearly as much Democrat support there. So it's interesting. And Coinbase CEO said that this is a threat to the status quo. Brian Armstrong didn't dance around it. Banks aren't pushing back because of stability. They're pushing back because of competition. The average year's savings account pays 0.414%. Stablecoins can pay around 3.8%. Fully reserved, backed by short-term treasury. No fractional reserve games. Armstrong's point was straightforward. Congress shouldn't let incumbents tilt the rules to destroy challengers. Set clear rules, let banks and crypto compete, and let consumers choose. This is exactly why the bill is so contentious. And this is interesting, right? Because you have a situation on the one hand where President Trump is trying to, get the American people, back up there, right? He's capping housing issues, and he's trying to fight inflation and credit card percentages, right? But on the flip side, people put a lot of their money in the bank where it's supposed to be safe, and they get a yield which is basically nothing. And it's not just in the US, of course, it's all around the world. Well, now we have a possibility to give people return. And the banks are trying to block this. You would think that maybe President Trump would be a little bit more inclined to have this pass. Maybe he'd push a little bit more to have it pass. But, the president has a lot on his plate right now. whole situation in Iran and other stuff. So it will be very interesting to see how this whole situation plays out. Of course, as crypto people, we are more knowledgeable about what's happening. But I think that most regular Americans, it's not really on their radar. But if you would have told them that, hey, you can get for your money just sitting instead of 0.14, 3.8, I think a lot of them will jump on that opportunity. So it will be very interesting to see what happens here in the next coming days. We do have a shortened week next week with Martin Luther King Day, I think. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Or is it in February? I don't know. The markets are closed on Monday. I think it's for MLK Day. And so that will, let me just check that to make sure. Yes, so Monday, January 19th. And it will be very interesting to see because the markets closed, the stock market, how will this affect the crypto market? Because we've seen many of these Mondays over the past few weeks because of the ETFs, the top dogs, right? XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum all have these sell-offs Monday morning or have, maybe a half an hour or an hour into the trading. Suddenly we start seeing these sell-offs, these manipulations. So it will be very interesting to see how that week starts, and we'll see. A lot of the momentum kind of got shifted here because of the pullout of Coinbase, and we'll see how the market continues. As always, this video is for entertainment and educational purposes, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Let's get back into it. Tomorrow, in an unprecedented move, President Trump is about to announce an emergency power auction that would force technology giants to pay new power plants. The initiative is expected to construct $15 billion worth of new power plants. The nation's largest grid operator will be leading the initiative with Trump. As he has stated before, this year will be largely about affordability ahead of the midterm elections. The ongoing electricity crisis we are facing due to AI demand will only get worse without intervention. Most recently, the U.S. average retail price for electricity gained 7.4 in September to a record of 18 cents per kilowatt. This week, Trump said, "I never want Americans to pay higher electricity bills because of the data centers." And now electricity is going to be the next topic, on this and on electricity. And like I said, just this could help people, that they want, more money in their pocket, right? And this could put, of course, electricity helps. And of course, there's also the news about U.S. and Taiwan finalizing a trade deal. The agreement cuts U.S. tariffs on Taiwanese goods to 15%, includes a $250 billion investment commitment from Taiwan into U.S. economy. All these things, of course, help the U.S. economy, help, jolt it, help potentially get jobs for people, more money into the system. That might not help inflation, by the way, because if there's more money, then inflation could potentially go up. But that's a story for another day. You would think that they want more money in people's pockets, right? And with midterm elections, that could potentially be happening. But on the flip side, we have Brad coming out here. That's not the flip side. But moreover, we have Brad saying, while a little buried in the Wall Street Journal print edition, the latest CPI data shows a 3.5 reduction in financial services costs for consumers. So, this is the financial services cost is actually coming down, where you have other things that might be going up. And Brad says, dare I say that this could be part because of the administration's pro-crypto policies, right? You think about it, pro-crypto policies, and if we have something like this pass where people can get 3.8% on their yield, then people will have more money in their pockets. So that could actually affect inflation. So this is a very interesting situation. On the one hand, financial services might be going down because of crypto, but if they have the yields, right, the high yields on their money, they have more money, then they're going to spend more. If they spend more, then potentially inflation could, go up. That's the theory, right? So this is a very interesting situation that we have right now, and we'll see how this is going to play out in the next coming days. As always, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.